Welcome into the Locked On Knicks podcast. The New York Knicks dominate the Sixers. OG Anunoby's back, and I'm going to tell you how and why he made all the difference.
You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Knicks, and this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use code all lowercase LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. I want to thank you for making Locked On Knicks your first listen today and every day, because that would make you an everydayer and therefore one of my favorite people. If you want to join those elite ranks, you can subscribe to watch us on YouTube and hit that notifications bell to ensure you never miss an episode. But if you prefer to just hear our voices, you can do the same thing on the podcast side. All you have to do is hit that auto download function on your podcast app. But who's talking to you? I'm Gavin Schall, your favorite play-by-play broadcaster's favorite play-by-play broadcaster without a voice. Last time I was on this show, now with about 60% of a voice. Hopefully it comes back. I got the New York State High School Basketball Championships this week, and you can check that out on the NFHS network. But on to some better players. The New York Knicks, this was nice. We've been waiting about a month and a half. It was a tease, right? We've been waiting 20 years to see the Knicks play like they did this January. Maybe that opening stretch of 2012-13 aside, and finally the team was hitting a level where you could honestly say over a full month they might be the best team in the NBA right now, and that was capped by killing the Sixers, killing the Nuggets, dominating the Heat, and then the same game they lose OG, they lose Julius, and somehow we fast forward a month and a half, and it was ugly. It was at its ugliest 2 days before we got OG Anunoby back, and yet somehow this team is still the 4 seed, and they're not in perfect positioning. They're closer to the 8 seed than they are the 3 seed, but somehow this team survived. And even before getting into what a joy this game was, I think we just have to acknowledge, what Jalen Brunson did over this stretch. I think the apex of that was that win over the Pacers. What Dante DiVincenzo did over the stretch, averaging 27 a game over a 7-game stretch. Probably more important than anyone else outside of Brunson, and maybe even including Brunson, Josh Hart just put this team on his back. And for a guy I was ripping at the start of this year, and I didn't think he was playing up to his contract. I don't think he was playing up to the standard he set last year. He's played like a star and a unique one, because his usage has still remained low. He hasn't he's not taking 20 shots a game, and yet he dominates basketball games in all these subtle ways. And he's mixing enough shot making to ensure that he's capable of being the second best player on a team that's treaded water. But let's get to last night, because the Knicks were finally whole and they look like it. They win 106-79 over the Sixers. They become the first team since 2012 to hold 3 straight opponents under 80 points. I don't need to tell you what an extraordinary accomplishment that is in the modern NBA, even if, and this is a topic we can get into down the road, even if teams are mysteriously playing better defense since the All-Star break across the board, and it feels like the NBA is all of a sudden allowing a lot more physicality. I think that is a real thing. And yet what the Knicks have done defensively is extraordinary, and it blows my mind what a skeleton key OG Anunoby is for this team. Like when they traded for him, I, along with 100 other Knicks pundits, told you about how he was an ideal fit, how you might have some concerns about the amount of offense and the amount of creation that the Knicks were losing. And I thought on some nights it really was not going to look very good offensively. But I think when I was making that point, I was underrating what OG meant for the Knicks in terms of the types of lineups and the style of play he allowed them to get to. So what I mean by that is, for the first time in the Tom Thibodeau era, honestly, for the first time on the Knicks since those 12-13 teams, maybe there were small stretches with KP where you had this, they have legitimate 4-out spacing, and they've kind of been invited to modern NBA basketball. And the fact that they were the 3rd best offense in the league last year, despite the fact that they didn't have 4-out spacing, was an extraordinary accomplishment. It was a testament to Jalen Brunson. It was a testament to Julius Randle. It was a testament to what Mitchell Robinson did on the offensive glass. But it ultimately wasn't sustainable. As we saw when the offense, not the defense, but the offense utterly crashed and burned with the start of the NBA playoffs. What happens with OG now, you actually have enough spacing that you can unlock just a different style of play. Like we know how good Brunson, DiVincenzo, and Hart are as passers, shooters, cutters, right? And going back to their college days, they played this beautiful style of basketball. And the first half of this year in the Knicks, you saw that in fits and spurts, particularly like if they'd ever go to a Brunson quickly, DiVincenzo Hart lineup. The issue was with Julius Randle and the way he was shooting the ball this year, the way he wasn't shooting the ball this year, teams could pack the paint. And when you look at Brunson, Hart, and DiVincenzo, you see three guys who are incredibly skilled, and Brunson is obviously an extraordinary scorer and like that doesn't really need anything to carry his weight. Guys like DiVincenzo and Hart to play that cut, pass, dribble, drive, kick out, rotate around until you get a wide open three, Spurs gasm style of basketball. You need to be four out. You can't have two people around the paint. And in particular, even when they did have four out, they still had Mitchell Robinson just stationed right at the rim. And that ultimately like tanked their ability to do that possession to possession. What happened last night against the Sixers and what happened the first month, you had OG Anunoby, is you had room to get back to that. And it led to some of the most beautiful sequences we've seen from this Knicks team all season long. I can go through two of my favorite plays in this game. One was Brunson running pick and roll with Precious Achiuwa. Brunson draws two, slips it to Precious between two defenders, who kicks it out to OG on the left wing. Defense rotates out to him. He makes the extra pass to Donte DiVincenzo in the corner to three. And then the one where OG got the spinning dunk, which was, I think it was DiVincenzo to Hart to Brunson on this backdoor cut. Brunson got a layup on another backdoor cut. The whole defense crashes on him. Brunson just slips it out to Anunoby. Anunoby's all of a sudden getting to attack a tilted defense, drive, spin move, vicious two-handed crank. And that's another thing that OG brings. Like he is an exclamation point style finisher on those types of plays. Because typically when you have a guy closing those plays without OG, it's an open three, or it's something with OG, you can survive that crazy closeout. You're not getting a pump sidestep three, which could be a good play. We've seen Deuce McBride hit a bunch of those. With OG, you're getting a loud finish at the end of those plays. We saw it even earlier in the game with Brunson and Isaiah Hartenstein running pick and roll. And Brunson consistently stringing it out, drawing two, and defenses like Philly, it literally 2 nights ago, is used to being able to do that and not getting burned, because we had these minutes where it was Hartenstein and Precious Achiuwa as the 4 and 5. And what you can do is you can double Brunson on that pick and roll. Brunson will sling it to Hartenstein. Then you can double Hartenstein. Hartenstein on the short will sling it into the corner to Achiuwa, and Achiuwa will most likely either miss a three or drive right back into a crowd. And as a defense, you don't actually lose anything by doing that. But with OG Anunoby in that corner, different story. Drags two in the corner. Hartenstein, first play, they stick on Anunoby because they know what kind of shooter he is. So Hartenstein says, okay, that's fine. He drives right to the rim for a flush. Same short roll. They stick on Anunoby, but they rotate off of Josh Hart wide open. He misses the corner three in and out, but he had about 8 seconds to shoot it because defenses just don't have an answer for that. And the beauty of having OG back is you can get to that 4-out spacing, and most teams get to that 4-out spacing, and other teams say, all right, you're going to torch us, but we're just going to torch you on the other end. Think the Indiana Pacers this entire year. But with OG Anunoby, instead of getting torched on the other end, the Knicks actually have the best defense in basketball, and a defense that is inexplicably substantially more dominant than any other one in the league when he's on the floor. We talked about it the other show. The Knicks were had around a plus 30 net rating when Anunoby's been in the game. That didn't change in this one. It was another completely dominant night for him when he was on the floor. They were plus 28 in OG's 29 minutes. And he boosted Josh Hart plus 32, Donte DiVincenzo plus 32. It was an extraordinary win for the Knicks. It was so much fun. I want to get more into the specifics on what OG did well, what Josh Hart did, putting up a career stat line, and an understated night from Jalen Brunson, where I thought he was completely dominant. So we're going to get into all that next on Locked On Knicks. Passion, drive, and patience, what brings home the winning trophy, is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors is everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for with eBay Guaranteed Fit. Your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. All right, let's get into some of the specifics, because this was an awesome night for the entirety of the Knicks Big Three. I know I already highlighted OG's Impact. Not an overwhelming statistical game. 14 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. But I don't know about you guys. I just got incredibly fired up, like on that very first play that OG had. The second possession of the game, excuse me. Second possession of the game goes right at Tobias Harris. Step back corner jumper. And I know Alex mentioned on the show yesterday, like, we got a report from, I think it was our buddy Chris Persiane. It might have been someone else, but it was just watching OG shoot. And you're like, yeah, he didn't miss a single three in warm-ups. And it was clear that he was in such a good rhythm. Like, he almost had 20 points this game. He had 2 threes that were literally halfway down and out. And just from the opening moments of this game, there was a little bit of rust in his movement. I thought there was no rust in his shot or his confidence offensively. And I just thought you had multiple different stretches where you got to see, beyond being just a physical specimen, what a defensive genius this guy is. Like, he had incredible recognition, was guarding Kyle Lowry, shot clock dwindling down, Josh Hart's on Kelly Oubre, and he sees Oubre on the catch fumble the ball a little bit. And with 2 seconds left, he's like, you know what? I can get there. And he sprints to Oubre, gets the steal, and it works because he doesn't hesitate at all. Like a lesser defender in that situation kind of looks, pauses, says, all right, maybe I can make that run, starts going. Oubre just passes it right back to his guy. They get a 3 at the buzzer. It's a bad gamble. But with OG, it's a calculated gamble, and it worked brilliantly. Then had one on his final bucket of the game, where Buddy Hield is kind of trying to drive by him, and OG just aggressively chops at the ball. Again, lesser player. That's probably a foul. You missed the hand. OG strong, great timing on it, knocked it right away. Statue of Liberty flush. And then just like, those are the loud plays, but just the quiet plays that he had on the defensive end. Like, there was a play where Dante, just like early third quarter, Dante comes up to help Jalen Brunson on Tyrese Maxey and just get the trap and get the ball out of his hands. And all of a sudden, like, Josh Hart rotates over, 2 people are open, down low for the Sixers. And OG recognizes this. He comes off his own man, trusting that someone else is going to help the helper. Tags the big down low. They don't get a pass for a wide open layup. And OG is just on the ball, off the ball, erasing plays that would be buckets on these last few games against the Knicks. And with OG, they often turn into steals and dunks. So it was just an absurdly good performance from OG. And it has to leave you so encouraged for the fact that the Knicks, like, even without Julius Randle, like, they can play pretty close to that January level. And look, this was the Sixers without Joel Embiid. The Knicks can and will face better teams, but it gives you an idea that Randle is going to be the cherry on top for this, but they get about 75% of the way back to where they were and how they were playing. And a lot of that is because Josh Hart has ascended to another level. 20 points, 19 rebounds, 10 assists, just a rebound shy. A shout out to our buddy Jonathan Macri on the stat. Rebound shy of joining David Lee is the only Knicks with a 20, 20 and 10 game, because Tom Thibodeau pulled him and decided to break the 40-minute stretch only by 1. He played 39 minutes still in this game. And Hart, from opening tip, was really good. Like, hit a tough pull-up jumper on the opening possession. I got a little bit spooked on that play. This is a great shot, but he passed up at open 3. I was like, all right, are we getting that version of Hart again? Just because OG's back. He's like, all right, I'm not allowed to take these anymore. But then from there, like, he could not have been more aggressive. Like, had the sick tip in where OG had a toilet bowl 3 fall in and out, and he just timed it brilliantly, like really got up on it. Him and Brunson showed off some great chemistry. The Sixers, I don't know if this was a zone or if they were just at a place, but it looked like they went zone for a second, and Brunson just threw like 3 or 4 different pass fakes and then hit Hart on a cut, rolling to the rim for a dunk. Hart had another play where it got a hard closeout on the perimeter, pump, drive, perfectly weighted lob to Precious Achiuwa. And then like ended up hitting 2 more of those foul line fadeaways. Like he's just in a good rhythm on that shot right now. Hit a pull-up midi 3 after faking a dribble handoff. And I gave like a big fist bump, a big like, let's go on that shot. Only because I was waiting all night to see like, all right, is he still going to take the off the dribble threes, even with Anunoby back? And then when Randall comes back, that's going to be an even bigger question because he's going to be let off the hook a little bit in terms of, all right, it's no longer my responsibility to take those shots. I don't have to feel obligated to take those shots. I'm Josh Hart. I'm a smart player. I know that there are players on this team that have a better chance of making that than me. And I think he gets in his own head. He's almost too smart for his own good because ultimately that's just a shot that has to go up. He took it. He made it. When he shoots with confidence again, he's not a great shooter, but he is a fine shooter. That's all the Knicks need him to be. Had that hard push to end the first half for Brunson corner 3. That put the Knicks up by 21. When the Sixers made a run to get back in it, cut it to 10 at the start of the second half, he again had answers. Like hurt his hand, didn't matter, got a layup, threw his headband to the side, didn't matter, got another cutting layup. And again, that's a symptom of having OG Anunoby out there and having 4 out spacing. I think another guy that really benefited from that spacing was Precious, I have a lisp, Precious Achiuwa. Just seeing what he can do as a dive big, like kind of has me wondering, all right, are we going to get to a point where we're looking at a scenario where the Knicks all of a sudden are like, you know what, maybe we don't need to pay Isaiah Hartenstein this summer. Maybe we can trade Mitchell Robinson. I've gotten a lot of pushback when I think about 2 months ago, like a little bit after the end, not 2 months ago, but like a month and a half ago, a little bit after the Anunoby trade. Like I got flack for pushing the idea that, all right, maybe the Knicks will feel comfortable moving off of Mitch or iHeart because they feel like they can save some money with Precious. And if Precious keeps playing as well as he does, that could flip the other way where all of a sudden he's going to get paid too much in free agency. But I'm starting to think he is going to end up being the Knicks backup center next year. And I think unless Hartenstein gets blown away by another offer, I think Mitchell Robinson could possibly be the odd man out. But before I say that definitively, I want to get a chance to look at Mitchell Robinson in this new Knicks offense and see, all right, maybe Mitch as a dive man is actually way better and more dangerous than I ever could have imagined because he's never gotten the benefit of, again, playing with 4 shooters. And that this is contingent, mostly, like I'm sure we'll get some bench lineups with it, but this is mostly contingent on Mitch coming back before Julius Randle does. But if we actually get that and we get like a long stretch or even like a 5-game stretch of Mitch, Brunson, Hart, Devo, OG playing together, maybe Mitch looks awesome as a roll man. But all I can tell you is Achiuwa's speed, rolling to the rim, and his finishing ability is just so far above where I thought it would be. Like he had one with Dante where Dante threw him like this perfect bowling ball style bounce pass. Yeah, bowling style bounce pass. And again, like the Sixers were doubling the ball in all of those. Achiuwa rolled, man at the rim. Achiuwa goes up with 2 hands, flips it to a one-handed scoop. It looked like a poor man's Michael Jordan. It was a crazy finish. And he's just doing that routinely now. And part of that, again, is the benefit of spacing. But it's the fact that Achiuwa obviously is smaller than iHeart and Mitch. And you don't, I mean, the issue with trading one of those guys is if the other one goes down, and obviously Mitch is injury prone. iHeart this year at least was injury prone. You don't have someone who can like have any type of chance against the Joel Embiid type dude. So you want a little bit of protection for that, assuming the Knicks don't go and get Embiid this summer. But I just really like what Precious brings from that perspective. And then as a switch defender, like again in this game, I mentioned it the first time they played the Sixers when they got him. Like he locked up Tyrese Maxey on a switch. He stopped Kelly Oubre on a switch. Like he is just better at that than iHeart and better than that at Mitch. And in the playoffs, gives you some stylistic diversity that I think could help a lot depending on who you're playing. Like if the Knicks play the Bucks, like I think Precious could play a big role in that series, like switching on to Damian Lillard and shutting him down, or not shutting him down, but at least giving you a quality option doing that versus if you've Mitch or iHeart dropping all the time in pick and roll, you're just going to get threes bombed in your eyes. So, all right, we've somehow gone about 20 minutes and we've not talked about Jalen Brunson, who I thought was spectacular. So we'll come back and touch on him next on Locked On Knicks. But first, PrizePicks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with over 3 million members. We're the easiest and most exciting way to play DFS. It's just you against the numbers. You pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. And we want to remind you, it's now demon time on PrizePicks. You can win up to 100 times your money with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000. Demons and goblins are the newest and most exciting way to play at PrizePicks. Squares marked with red demons or green goblins get you different payouts. You can now win up to 100 times your money with as little as 4 correct picks. And PrizePicks now offers Apple Pay for quick and easy deposits into your account this basketball season. What I love about PrizePicks is on so many other sites, you're just playing against people who live in their parents' basements, probably have a statistics degree. I don't know. Let's just say from an MIT, from a Harvard. You want to go a little lower on the totem pole. Let's just say from a USC maybe. But these people just have more time than you. They have more money than you. They're good at putting more entries. You're not beating those people. Again, on PrizePicks, you ultimately don't have to because you're just betting against. You're just playing against the projection. So go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. Once again, go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use code LockedOnNBA for first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks, pick more, pick less. It is that easy. And we also want to tell you about our buddies over at Robinhood. Did you know that even if you have a 401k for retirement, you can still have an IRA? Robinhood has the only IRA that gives you a 3% boost on every dollar you contribute when you subscribe to Robinhood Gold. But get this, now through April 30th, Robinhood is even boosting every single dollar you transfer in from other retirement accounts with a 3% match. That's right, no cap on a 3% match. Robinhood Gold gets you the most for your retirement thanks to their IRA with a 3% match. This offer is good through April 30th. Get started at Robinhood.com/boost. Subscription fees apply. And now for some legal info. Claim as of Q1 2024, validated by Radius Global Market Research. Investing involves risk, including loss. Limitations apply to IRAs and 401ks. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold for 1 year from the date of the first 3% match. Must keep Robinhood IRA for 5 years. The 3% matching on transfers is subject to specific terms and conditions. Robinhood IRA available to U.S. customers in good standing. Robinhood Financial LLC member SIPC is a registered broker dealer. All right. We somehow still have not talked about Jalen Brunson, who was amazing. 27 minutes. Shout out to Tom Thibodeau for finding a way to give him 27 minutes. Old Tibbs, Knicks are up by 30. Jalen Brunson, you're out there for 38. And he was amazing in those 29 minutes, 20 points, 9 assists, 4 rebounds, 7 of 12 from the field, 4 of 8 from 3, 2 for 3 from the foul line. We've talked a lot during this extended stretch where OG Anunoby's been out about the workload for Brunson and that he's still getting his numbers. He's still single-handedly lifting this team up, but you can see the work. You can see the effort. You can see the toll it's taking on him and his body. And I'm not saying that's over. The guy was like grabbing his left hip like an 80-year-old man for a bunch of this game. So I hope he's okay. I'm sure he's still beaten up, battered, and bruised. But now he's just not going to have to do as much on a night-to-night basis. And yet he dominated this basketball game in a much smarter way. Like, it reminds me of LeBron James. Like, about 5 years ago, Brian Windhorst on ESPN put out this article about LeBron. I think it was his last year or second to last year on the Cavs. And he was talking about how LeBron literally moves on less on a permanent basis than anyone else in the NBA. And he moves slower than anyone else in the NBA in terms of like his median movement. And just covers less distance than anyone else in the league. And yet LeBron was still putting up like 30, 10, and 8, and was still the best player in basketball at that point. And I thought we saw kind of a micro version of that from Brunson in this game. Again, the way he was able to just pinpoint, like manipulate the Sixers defense and say, all right, if you do this, I'm going to do this. Like if I string you out, you bring 2, all right, I'm slipping it to Hart. He's going to get a dunk or he's going to get an assist to the corner. All right, you play me one-on-one, like I'm cooking you. I'm going right to the rim. Like you're throwing 38-year-old Kyle Lowry on me. I don't care that he's sort of a mentor to me. I'm going start, stop. He's left in the dust. I'm making a floater. and again, we just saw him like the reason Josh Hart, and I remember we discussed this on a podcast last year, but the reason Josh Hart had 10 assists in this game is because Jalen Brunson would drive, he would draw 2 or 3, he would kick it to Hart, and Hart would either drive and find someone else or would immediately flash it to someone else along the 3-point line. Like Brunson racked up a ridiculous amount of hockey assists in this game when the Knicks were dominating this first quarter, when they were dominating this first half, a 59-point first half, 55% from 2, 44% from 3, coming off their worst offensive game in a decade. Like when they were rolling like that, it was because Jalen Brunson was orchestrating everything. Like the Sixers, they tried to go zone. Brunson shredded it in a second. The Sixers went right back to man-to-man. I mean, the steal that Jalen Brunson had when the Sixers were starting to make a little bit of a push, like incredibly anticipatory. And then that behind-the-back pass, like sometimes in transition, you'll see guys make fancy passes, announcers, myself included, if I was announcing that kind of game, lose their minds. But really, it's a nothing pass. Like for an NBA guy, like super easy to throw it off the backboard with accuracy and timing in transition. Like what Brunson did going behind the back there, that was not a nothing pass because there was a defender leaking out, like catching up to OG Anunoby, and Brunson just weighted it perfectly where Anunoby didn't have to break stride, and yet he had enough speed on it to ensure the defender couldn't get there. Anunoby, big dunk. That was brilliant. Back-to-back transition threes. Back-to-back threes. One of them was in transition. The other one, give and go game with Josh Hart, relocate to the right wing when Campaign took his eyes off him. Brunson hit it. Like Brunson off the ball was so good in that game. That relocation 3. And then in the second half had this great backdoor cut where again, it was Campaign, like losing focus on him. And it just reminded me of how these guys looked at Villanova and the fact that Jalen Brunson, and maybe part of it is that he's playing with his college buddies. And so you're like, you know that thing when you hang out with your college friends, you revert to how you were in college. I almost think Jalen is playing out the basketball version of that, where he's like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to, like, someone's not looking at me. All right, I'm supposed to backdoor cut here. And I only lose my mind over that is because like a lot of stars in this league, like it could be available to them. They're not doing that. Like LeBron at this point in his career, maybe occasionally, but like he's not doing that all the time. Like Luka Doncic is never doing that. He's never, someone can send me a clip of him doing it, but you get my point. Like it is a role player thing to do. And Jalen just like, he sees the opening and he's 6'0", and he's like, all right, I'm just going there. I'm going to get a reverse layup out of this. My favorite play from him all game, maybe his pass of the year, like 2 on the ball. I think it was Cam and maybe Oubre. Like, and you can just tell, like he runs that pick and roll with iHeart. Like he is intending to get the ball to iHeart the whole time, but he's like, all right, how do I have to string this out to get him the ball where he is wide the F open? Goes behind the back, like, and baits the defense to the right. All right, they can't recover to iHeart there. Crosses back over. All right, a little bit closer recovering to iHeart, but wait, he's going up for a shot. All right, we got to go up with him. Oh wait, now he's doing a pocket pass in the air with velocity on the ball to Isaiah Hartenstein for a jam. Defense caught totally off guard. Like the way he understands like just timing and how to string plays out. It's point guard stuff that we got from fits and spurts a year ago from him. And now we're getting it consistently. And he's marrying that with the fact that he is an extraordinary scorer of the basketball. And because of that, he is a top 10 offensive player in the league. I am biased, but I will stand by that. All right, a couple notes to end. We mentioned the Knicks, still the 4 seed, not necessarily in great position to continue moving up the standings, but Cleveland has lost their last 2, 5-5 over their last 10. No Donovan Mitchell, no Evan Mobley. They're feeling the mode a little bit. The Bucks have been playing really well. That might be a step too far for the Knicks, but you know what? I think Cleveland's catchable as long as they knock on every piece of wood in your house. As long as they stay fairly healthy, I think Cleveland's catchable. The Pistons guys, unfortunately, really, really sucked in this one. Bojan, 22 minutes, somehow didn't score. It's kind of shocking that the guy who was that good in Detroit has just struggled. Not every night. Like he's had some really good offensive nights, but offensively has not been what he was with the Pistons, when I thought, all right, he's going to be a hyper efficient version of what he was with the Pistons. And I think part of that is sometimes hard to acclimate to a lower usage role, and it's hard to find your rhythm in a lower usage role. Hopefully he gets there. We did get some minutes of him and Anunoby together. And I'm going to continue to watch for how Anunoby like saves his butt defensively and how Bojan can make that a really deadly offensive pairing. Burks hit a shot, 1 for 6, over 4 from 3, was somehow -7 in his 12 minutes when the Knicks won this game by 27 points. On that slightly sour note, we will wrap this one up. But hopefully we're getting closer and closer to the return of a fully healthy Knicks team. But man, this was a spectacular night for the New York Knicks. And despite how well RJ Barrett's playing, despite how well Emmanuel Quickly's playing, OG Anunoby showed you why you should have no qualms about that deal if you are a Knicks fan. And he makes this team, I think, better than any Knicks team we've had since the 90s. But until next time, we'll talk to you very, very soon over here on Locked On Knicks.